Good evening, folks. So, if you're joining us this evening, I'm afraid you're stuck with just me because Ricky's not about tonight. I've started the stream just a slight bit late, so sorry about that. And I'm just feeling my way around the controls because normally Ricky drives and I've got no idea what I'm doing. So, please excuse any slight delays. Say hi if you're in the chat room. I'll do my best to concentrate and do what you're doing answer your questions as well as do what I'm doing. The plan for this evening is to carry on with this here beastie, testing out two different camera views, so I hope it looks alright to you. So we have made a bit of progress on the Leviathan since last time, and we are going to be working on adding some more detail, so I'll give you a little webcam tour around it in just a moment. I've just got to do one more thing to get us up and running, and then we'll be good. There we are. So, right, let's just make sure I don't stab myself with a knife and talk you around what we've done so far. So, camera off, sorry for the shaky camera work. Since last time, we have added a whole bunch of details to the side and front of the tank. We've glued the main gun in place. We've started to add some logos, and although we've still got a few holes and things to fill, we're starting to layer up the armor plates. We've added these bars here to give some idea of the floors and stories. The old hatches from a Space Marine Rhino have become the command viewports, and then using other bits of the Baneblade kit, so that ladder's not going to be there, and bits of old scenery that my son had been painting. We've added a firing bunker, which is basically going to sit underneath, if we zoom back out, our landing pad. So you're getting an idea of the scale of the beastie now. Where's trusty Space Marine to stand on it and give you a flavour. So there we are, the landing pad's just under 10 inches across. We did debate using the old Apocalypse 10-inch blast marker instead. So the struts are fitted for that, but on balance, and sort of polling a few other wargaming buddies, I felt that the thicker foam hexagonal pad, which is based off the Mantic landing pad kit in dimensions, would probably do the job better. So I've already cut a hole to mount a ladder through that. And yeah, I'm having a friend 3D print an Iron Eagle gyrocopter at 40k scale to go on. So basically, our task for this evening is to add a few more bits to it and start to then think about filling some of the gaps. Excuse me, Bob the Space Marine. So just before I came on stream, I was just adding some of the details to the front plates here. I'm not really happy with how these corners have ended up square, so I'm going to use some plastic rod to try and do something with it. Maybe link it into this, again, more Mantic scenery offcuts. I've got a thinner gauge of rod, maybe that will do it. Haven't worked with this thinner gauge yet, but we'll see whether that does the job. It's going to be quite interesting because when you're doing this sort of thing, sometimes knowing when to stop is the thing, and you end up throwing way too much bits of detail on there. So until earlier on this evening, I was debating adding on some of these turret pieces from the old Wall of Martyrs kit, and I was looking at mounting those as side turrets, perhaps using the spare Baneblade heavy bolter turrets that I haven't yet used from the kits as side sponsons. But I don't really think that... Well, actually, now I look at it that way, that might actually work. So I might come back to doing that this evening. The only problem I've got is that the turrets, if there's fishing for a turret, are slightly smaller than the hull. So I'm going to need to do some cutting about to get that to sit nicely, or some plasticard, and I hate cutting plasticard in circles. So let's just have a look. That might not work. a little talk into there first. I'm a bit rubbish when it comes to measurements, so I tend to just measure everything by eye, slap it in, and then fill the holes in with green stuff later on. So let's just see how that fits. However, I'm also a spawny get, and got that in first time. Don't forget to take the landing pad off, Simon, because otherwise that is going to go in. So let's just add some glue to get that one set where it's meant to be. Oop. Come back out of there, you. And we will crack on there. Just while I'm doing that, I will mention that we're not the only people doing these sorts of paints and chats. So we've heard some lovely stories of other members of the local community arranging sort of use of Discord and things like that to keep the community alive while they can't get together and meet in person. So Swansea War Games and Board Games Club, for example, have been hosting regular paint and chats on a Wednesday evening as well. So they're probably in the middle of it. Hello, lads, if anyone's watching while you're streaming with your buddies as well. But yeah, they've been doing a weekly paint and chat session, which the club has organised. So basically they can do similar to what I'm doing here with you guys, except all chatting rather than just chatting through the text. And yeah, they've been keeping the hobby going that way. If any of you who are watching, whether live or another time, want to tell us other things that you've been doing to help get your hobby on while lockdown's been a thing, do feel free to either drop a message in the chat now and I'll have a chat to you about it this evening, or drop us an email to info@scgc.org.uk, or message via the Facebook page, and we might even give you a shout out on future things. Because obviously, as you know, the convention is all about promoting all aspects of gaming and comics and the hobbies in general around the Swansea area. So yeah, we'd be really interested to hear what you guys have been up to. Right, that's not coming on too badly. That gives it a bit of definition there. But I think we're probably going to have to take some of those strips as well onto the armour plates. So I might actually just follow that around and divide that up. There's a part of me that wants to start coming in at angles, but I think that is going to be a better way to do it. Let's come in by there. Right. Apologies for the brief lapses in chat. I will do my best to keep the commentary up. But as I say, I've normally got a Ricky here to talk to, and due to one thing and another, we didn't realise that he wasn't going to be available until the very last minute. So I am not entirely prepared with solo spiel, and I was expecting to be chatting to him this evening. So we'll do our best, and I will keep drinking and try not to chop my fingers off while I'm doing anything. I think there, and then if we do another one at the halfway mark. The nice thing about plastic art is if you do go wrong and leave a bit too long sticking out, you can always trim it off afterwards. It's relatively easy to cut once it's glued in place without breaking the rest of the thing off. So that's quite nice. Get on there. But yeah, as I've mentioned on previous streams, this part of the hobby is by far and away my favourite bit of the building and painting side of Warhammer. The scratch building and getting a bit crazy with it. There we go. I think we're probably going to want something in the middle for these as well. Maybe a third piece just there, yes. Let's get that one in. And then we'll come to the other side after. Also, apologies if the vocal levels are a bit quiet. I'm sat just underneath where the children are asleep upstairs, so I'm trying to be a little bit quiet so I don't disturb them, because otherwise the stream's going to end awful early as I go up and sort them out. Or if not, I'm going to have our 8th wife saying, "Why have you woken the children?" But let's hope it doesn't come to that. We've been lucky so far, so. But if I am a little too quiet, someone just let me know in the chat and I'll do my best to speak up a bit. You should be alright. I'm on the headset. Also, if anyone wants a zoom in on anything or wants to ask any questions about how we've gone about getting to this point, then feel free to pop a question in the chat. There we are. So that's going to be one that I'm going to need to trim down in a minute. We'll let the glue go off and then trim that one down. I'm quite excited to get the 3D printed copter to go with this, because the original Epic model did have like a recon copter. I say recon copter, it mounts a battle cannon as its main armament and outguns a lot of Space Marine tanks. But yeah, it's back in the days when weapon loadouts were a bit crazy. It's basically a battle cannon mounted copter that is the recon and air defense drone for this. And hopefully, did I get that in the right place? Get on that. Yeah, hopefully it'll work out as the right size, because it's a 3D printing file, and I'm not doing the 3D printing because I haven't got one, and I probably couldn't be trusted with one. Then I've asked my friend James to print it out for us, and yeah, I've got no idea of what size the thing will actually come out, other than that it'll be roughly 28mm scale. So I'm hoping it'll fit relatively comfortably on the landing pad, because otherwise I'm going to be a sad puppy. Right, there we are. That gives that front section a bit more detail there. Helps to break those lines up. Sort of wishing that I've got something to put in there as well. Let's have a quick fish in the box and see what we've got in terms of detaily bits. Oops. Right, to the box. Now I'm thinking that they, with a bit of trimming, might actually do the job. So those are, I've got to make out there the gun sensors from, I think, the Wall of Martyrs, but it might have been the old Imperial Bastion kit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the loudspeaker off of it, because I don't think that's needed. The nice thing about having been doing this hobby for years is you've got all sorts of random bits lying around from kits that you previously built or things that you kept and you thought, oh, that would be cool. So make those painted. Whoa, didn't go in the whiskey, it's alright. And yeah, you can get a bit creative with how you use these bits. I mean, most of this tank, though, is ending up being actual just spare bits from the Baneblade kits that I used to make the chassis. So a lot of the side plate details and pretty much all of the engine section, bar this bit here, which is off Space Marine Storm Talon, I think, possibly off of Valkyrie. Not entirely sure this is. Storm Raven, even that will be the one. But yes, yeah, having a big random pile of bits to work with lets you get a bit creative. I'm deliberately leaving a whole pile of bits undealt with for the moment, because I want to do all my sort of green stuffing and filling at the moment, because green stuff goes off relatively fast, and I don't want to be stuck. Now, do I take the detail off the back of that and glue it flat, or do I glue it with a bit of protrusion? I think I'll shave it down. So that's going badly. Let's do it with a knife instead. Excuse me, turret. For the sake of symmetry, I should probably measure exactly where these are going. No, I think I'm actually going to leave that back detail on there. Let's just get you to the same point. And one, two. I'm going to have a lot of hoovering to do tomorrow because there's plastic flying everywhere. Get them off your side. There you go. Right, that's that bit. Just tidy that little bit there. Don't do this at home, kids. Cutting towards yourself with a knife is usually a recipe for disaster. But some form of potato peeling action seems to work pretty well for me. So trimming the smaller details. There we go. Right. So let's have a look if we stick. That would be the logical place to do it, sticking it just above the where that gap I've left in the armor plating sits. But I have also got the void shield generators to think about. Now, for the void shield generators, I've again found an old Imperial Cities kit. I think it's the old Administratum building, possibly the Manufactorum. But these little hanging wall lights, if you take them off just behind the light face itself, are a nice little dome, and that dome can be all sorts of useful for making things like void shield generators and bits and bobs like that. So I'm going to probably trim those back later on, and I'm going to mount a pair of them on the back quadrant. I've started building the generator array for it here, so I'm probably going to mount the first generator and a piece of pipework up by there, and matching one on the other side. But the slightly finicky part of me wants some mounted on the front as well, and I'm wondering whether to put those into the next bracket up, or whether to put those into that same area. But for now, let's go with chucking these on where I thought, and worry about stripping those down after. There we go. A little bit of glue. Get you on there. Get you level. And there we go. Go for the other side. Yeah. As I was saying, I think last week, I don't worry too much about perfection when doing these projects of mine, because I want to play with it and I don't want it to be something that I spend forever and a day on and obsess madly over, because that's not really how I do it. So providing it looks relatively alright, then that will be good enough for me. So while we've got them then, let's get those void shield generators cut down. If I take, can I do it on one cut? Trying to see so you can see. So I'm trying to cut straight down the back line of the light using the angle of the piece above. You probably won't be able to see. Yeah, no, my camera's not quite far enough. So I've put the first cut in just along the flat edge of the light there, and I'm basically using the bit of plastic that I'm keeping to keep it straight. I'm also trying to avoid hitting the rest of the bracket, because there's a lot of other usable pieces on there if I can, and I want to make sure I'm getting the cut nice and straight so they don't come out in the wrong place on the other side of the light. There we are. It's going through nicely, and I think I'm mostly on target. Stay on target, stay on target. A lot easier when there aren't TIE fighters shooting at you. There we go. Right, so let's have a look at that. That's actually come off better than I was hoping. It's just a teeny tiny bit of flush to one, and then that gives me a nice little power and cabling array that I can use another day. Or possibly even as part of the gubbins for the void shield generators, but we'll see. So those I want to be fairly prominent, so I think I'm going to stick those, come back this way so you can see, stick those central to that compartment there. There we go. I think that will do us nicely. So we get that one on, and then we'll replicate the other side. And we can work out power linkages or whatever they're going to be afterwards. So if we go that way, using those sticky out. Don't glue it to the table, Simon. That would be a bad idea. For most of this, I'm using plastic glue rather than super glue because Plasticard bonds really well with Games Workshop plastic. Normally it says it's not sticking out, but yeah, it bonds really well with Plasticard. So once you'll have to literally cut it off if you want it back off. Whereas super glue can tend to get a bit fragile over time, and it's easier to take your conversions apart if you do need to bust the bits off for anything else, but it's also easier to break things if you accidentally drop or knock the model. So plastic glue, if you're gluing plastic to plastic, is the preferred option. Right then. We'll do this in, actually we've got even thinner, haven't we? Let's have a look. What about you? So this is ABS plastic rod that I picked up from a site called Hobby King. Unfortunately, it turned out to be their Chinese, their Hong Kong warehouse, although they've got a UK and a US warehouse, but they seem to hold their stock in various different locations, so it actually took a best part of a week and a half to get here, so I was delayed in starting the project. But it was actually relatively cheaply priced for what it is, and they had a good range of sizes. I used the heavier 6mm rod to make most of the framework for the Leviathan inside the chassis, and then the other Plasticard was just sourced from a place on eBay. I realise I probably should stock it in my shop, but finding a decent supplier that actually makes it worthwhile selling is a bit tricky, especially given the amount that plastic is getting used for other more important things like PPE at the moment. So I'd rather, for the time being, just deal with people who've already got the supplies. I think that one I messed up. There we go. That was too high. I think I'm going to glue that one and fix it afterwards. Oops. Got some shavings left in here from when I was trimming down some of the side cuttings earlier on. So, actually, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to take a bit off now because otherwise, what I was just saying earlier on about it bonding really well, it isn't really going to matter. There we go. Right, get on there. So there we go. That's is it 1mm or 1/2mm, that one? Doesn't say on the packet. I think that's a 1/2mm. 1/2mm square rod. Yeah, that'll be the 1mm. But that's quite nice for pipe work, so I might use that in some other places as well, just to tie some bits in together. So now let's mimic that on the other side, and then see where we get to. Try not to cut my fingers off as I do this. Excuse the moment of silence while I concentrate. But the last thing you guys want to see is me bleeding all over camera, is it? So there we go. Come on, that thing. So again, coming on quite nicely. I think I'm mostly on the right line. There we go. And that one's good as well. I am lucky this evening. I'm told by various trade people that I know that I should measure twice and cut once. And I sort of instinctively know that, but can never seem to bring myself to actually do it when I'm making models. I would probably make a better model if I did. But that's going to be vaguely important though. Go on, get a ruler. 2.5. So 2.5 in the middle. It's in roughly the same place. And then we can put pipe work on. So that's my first cut. Dropped it. There we go. First bit. Slightly too long. Oops, back off before it sets. Off you go. And then same thing again for the downwards. What's that I was using? Was that it? That's the bigger dimension. Where did that go? What have I just done with that? Right, I've totally lost the piece of plastic card I was using, which is there, foiling them up. Genius thing. Just trying cutting that one on the model to see how successful that was. Just put a bit of a score in there and then bent it back to snap it. Slightly too long, off you come. Let's do this. Tiny bit there, there we go. And then on it goes. So there we have. Let's just bring it through. Let's look, and then when painted up, that's going to look like power leading from this cable array into some form of step down and into the generator itself. Amazing what you can do with some simple shapes. There we go, right. So let's try and have a look how we're going to do that on the front then. I think we're probably going to want those, one or two. I think the one. So if we put one in the centre of this forward arc here, and we can find some bits to be power gubbins in just a moment. Don't want to get that one because that's a complete turret. Let's see what we can find. That looks promising. Right, so let's get this one cut then, and see where we go with that one. Same trick, just using the edge that I want to keep the model straight. I'll just turn that over so I can keep the other bit intact. Just chop through that and don't take my fingers off. And there we go. Right, so we found, I think it's the old power pack from, who knows, las cannon maybe? Space Marine vehicle bit, could be anything. So I'm going to mount this nice and centrally. Do I want it more proud than that one? Partly think this, do I want 25mm base to act as a centre point from it? Yeah, I think so. So let's use that and make it stand out a bit prouder as it's the forward shield generator. And I'm sure I've got 25mm base separate, so I can still build the tank commander at a later date if I want a standing tank commander. There we go. So that's on there. Let's just get some on the back of that. And oh, the railing above is just a bit loose. Yeah. Now that plastic is melting quite a bit more than the harder miniature plastic, so point of reference, careful on the plastic on the bases because they really go. Yeah, that's that rail above fixed as well. Yeah, you can just, if you peek closely, you can see black smudges where the plastic is melting down around the edges as a solvent does its work. There we are, right. Just trim the top off that because I want to paper it plugged into something. That can sit this side of the line. There. There's my piping. Let's to escape again. There we go. So I'm not seeing anyone out in the chat room this evening. I'm just wondering where our usual chat-alongers are. If you're out and about, then that's not a problem. Here we go. Oh, I just need to lose a little bit of that. There we are, and then an upright pipe into there. Should work nicely. So, I've gone a bit long again. There we go. Score just be enough to snap. Yep. And then we can put some glue on there. And there we go. Another conduit done. Just that light is there we go. It's reflecting off there. So while we're at it, let's just trim the edge here from where we have the other plate over it. Oh, there we go. And now that's back to looking like it's meant to. And we can look for a few more details over here. Just wondering, can I use these cable arrays anyway? Maybe if we take that bit off there, let's find something to plug into. So another box. Gubbins, that's sharp. Let's take that away you. Back that off. Here we go. And one more just in by there. So that's going to sit nicely. Oh, no, actually, will that work? Not quite. So now we need something a bit more boxy to make it stand out. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. What have we got? Getting another nice little random piece unit that who knows what it was. That's got a little, I think it might have been an ammo pack actually, but once we're done with it, it'll serve nicely as a little power node. Just take these out, mounting pegs off the back of it. And think about how those two go together. So we want it that way, so we're going to have to trim this edge down so that the crux terminatus stays the right way up. suppose we should actually trim the bit off the other side there. There we go. Right. Let's get those two together and then look at how and where that's going to go. So I think that way up for starters. And it's just going to be trimming the angle of the cable to sit nicely against the side of the base. There we go. Let's just let that dry for a second. Now, I'm still half tempted to mount these here. Breaks it a bit from the lines of the original model, but the original model had way more guns than I've currently got. It had some more imperial iconography, and I think it's actually going to look quite cool. So, yeah, do you know what? Because the original model would have had dirty great missiles sticking up the side, and I'm doing away with those. So let's see about getting this mounted. We're going to need some plastic art. There's some thin. And a pin. So start off, we'll make bases for this to sit onto. Then once we've got that base in place, we'll door and mount it inside. Would that be tidier? It would. We'll be able to cut it that easily. Let's have a go. Right. Let's give that a go then. Because we can always trim it down and filler it at a later date. So, when cutting plastic cards, score and snap seems to be the easiest way to work through. So you run a few lines into the plastic card, and then once you've got enough lines in, it should just snap cleanly along the score that you've made. Do that to take the general shape out, and then I should probably clean my whiteboard off. There we go. And then once we've got a piece roughly the right size, we'll have a go at trimming it to get it to fit inside the base of the turret piece. Snap. So, width-wise, we're actually alright, which is good. It's going to fit nicely, so it's just those two corners to take off. There we go, follow those lines and see how we go. There we are, so not bad for a first thing. Again, we can watch the tiny little corner and with a bit of filler to finish it off, so I'm pretty pleased with how that came out, and will give us a nice strong finish to it, because handily the mounting sections for this still got the pegs underneath for us to rest the plastic card on, so we should get a nice tight seal there. In that goes. And then while that goes off, we'll do the same for the other one. Are you going to be the right size? No, that would be too much to ask for, wouldn't it? So same thing again. Pop it down. Find a couple of edges to rest it on if you can. Put the rough outline of it there. Let's see what we can do. This time I think I got the angle of the corners on a bit better, so I'll take that one off there. I suppose at least putting these side turrets on will give it my own personal stamp as well. It then becomes my own take on the Leviathan rather than a faithful recreation. There's that one. Just take the back end off first. So we did. Try the right way around some, that would help. I slightly missed it on the width that time. See where I've deviated from the line. And a little bit on that corner, so let's fix the line first. Try not to take my ruler apart as well, because stupidly I've left my steel rule in work. I've got just as much chance of cutting chunks out of the ruler as I have of cutting plastic out. And the steel ruler is corked back so it wouldn't keep slipping like this does. There we go. Right. I think I've trimmed it too much there. Let's just come that way and see. Yeah, come too much first. Let's start that piece again. Perfectionism's one thing, but actually having a line that fits is another, so I'll just do that a bit more carefully next time. Take two. On the plus side, all these plastic out offcuts are ready-made armor panels for fancying up caps and bits of the hull later on, so it's not the end of the world. That should snap nicely now. There you go. This is the one we want to get right. On the side of caution. Maybe we'll shave it down if it doesn't work this time. And yeah, that's much better. So let's just take those front two corners off and then we'll put the second one in. There we go, and again, that's much better. Start up with plastic glue on the mounting points. And around it goes. There we are. In you go, you badger. I'll leave that one to dry. Now, I'll work it out. I actually think that hole underneath can be seen, so even though it's not quite the right size, I can get away because I don't want the turret rotating. I'm just going to point it at a jaunty angle and glue it in place because, again, rotating turrets are unnecessary. So what we're going to need to do is shave all of these rivets off of the side here so that we can give it a clean mounting onto the edge. And then once that's in place, we can position the turret we want it and stick it on. Here we go. Rivets are satisfyingly easy to shave off the model. Pop off really nicely just with the edge of your blade. Get off. Just put a little potato peel and make sure it's all nice and level. There we go. So let's pop it on there. Just slightly proud of the front hole. That should adhere nicely there. There we go. And the important thing, make sure we shave the other side so that it's a mirror of the erect, otherwise we can end up a particularly silly looking turret here. There we go. Off you come. Just tidy up, there we go. Glue on the edges there. See, just proud. The only minor flaw is that you can now see just where that front armor plate isn't quite level. So I might have to break that back and lift it up a bit. The other problem is it is level on the side, so problem for another day. Let's have a zoom down a bit more. Yeah, close enough. So then we end with something like that. And that is probably a good place to leave it for this evening, because I want to let those dry on properly and start to have a think about how I'm going to make a suitable looking support, if at all, for under there. I might go with a straight piece of a line up there. I might see if I can find something more buttress looking. Perhaps something like one of these light fittings minus the power thing. But yeah, we'll have a think on that. I mean, the other sponsons aren't supported, so maybe we won't even bother at all. We'll just fill them in close to the top of the hull to give them the illusion of being more supported. But yeah, there we are. So thank you for watching this evening. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribing, and you'll get to see all the other cool things that Swansea Comic and Gaming Convention are putting on to try and keep everyone interested in the hobby and aware of us until we can get back to doing what we do best, which is real life events. As Ricky mentioned on the previous stream, when we hit 75 followers on this channel, we will be doing a giveaway live on the stream. So you could be that 75th person, and from the 75th person onwards, that's at the point where we start giving the giveaways. So yeah, don't forget to like and share, give us a subscribe, and we will see you all later. Thank you.